In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the more complex options that you have while creating drawings for the different objects. For this, I'm going to use the mini vise, which was the same one that I used for going through and describing the assemblies. So first I'm going to start with the base view, and this is just going to be a good top view that I can use, and I'm going to place this right up here at the top. Then I'm going to go ahead and project this down to get a front view, and project my front view over to get a right side, and also drop an isometric in here. I'm going to double click the isometric and go ahead and make it shaded. That way it looks a little bit neater. Now with these three views, there's a lot of different things that I can do. One of the things to keep in mind with an assembly drawing, though, is almost in every case where you have an assembly drawing, you're going to have some type of bill of material. So we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the other types of drawings that we can create in here, and we're going to take a look at bill of materials. Now, these three views in their entirety don't necessarily show all the detail that I necessarily need to make sure this works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do two different things. I'm going to do a section view of this piece. That way I can see the holes that are in here and the holes that are in here. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a detail view of this particular piece right here. So when I go to section view and I select, I'm going to go to section view and I'm going to select this view right here to do my section on. Now where I'm actually going to be basing my section is going to be on this hole right here. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to work with this particular view. Now I inadvertently grabbed the wrong point, but that's okay, I can fix that in a second. Now I am only doing the section view covering up through the handle because I don't need the section view to cover everything else. I do, however, need to drag that line out a little bit so that it at least covers the entire piece. Now with this section view, the way it's cut, I can see the screw holes for this and the screw holes for this. So I have all of the information that I need to get all the information detailed on this particular drawing. Now I could bring this thing all the way over to here if I chose to bring it all the way over to here. But for right now, I don't necessarily need it all the way over to there, so I'm just going to drag it back in. And even though I'm not cutting these holes directly in the middle, I'm cutting them in such a way that you can still see both holes and the screws that go into those respective holes. The next thing I want to do is I want to create a detail view detailing this piece right here. So I'm going to go to detail view, select this view, and then I'm just going to draw basically a circle. There's my circle, and then I'm going to drag that out to right there. What it does is it puts in my detail mark showing that there's a detail view cut there, and here is that particular detail view. Now once I have all the views that I want located on this particular sheet, and I'm going to move this down here so I can put my bill of material there, then I can go through and start labeling. So I'll switch to the drawing annotation panel, and one of the first things you're going to notice is you don't necessarily need to use everything all the time, but the things that we do need to use, we want to make sure that we have available to us. So I'm going to come down here and click on parts list, and it's going to tell me to select a view. Well, the first view that I always select and always use for my parts list is my front view. So I'll select my front view and say OK. And it's going to say that the bomb view is disabled. I'll say OK to turn it on, and then I can drop my assembly or my parts list right here. One thing to make sure that you don't do, if I go back to the actual model file for this piece and I move this and switch back to my drawing file, it's going to adjust it in here as well. So now you see that my detail view is not quite centered anymore and things are a little bit off. You want to make sure that you keep things where they are once you actually start putting your drawings in. Okay, I accidentally undid my bill of material, so I'm going to go ahead and put that back in real quick. And the other good thing about the bill of material is that it does automatically count your parts for you. So I can see that I do have 6 M5x22 screws, 4 DIN 7991 screws, 2 end caps, 2 face plates, and it's going to keep a running tally of those. The next thing I want to do is identify the parts that I have on here. And to identify the parts, I just select balloon. click on the part and place all of the balloons. This is automatically going to number the balloons based on your parts list. So if I want to grab this screw right here, it's going to automatically pick that up. Here's another faceplate, the slider, the shaft, and if you accidentally take an arrowhead and move it to a different piece, I want you all to see what happens. If I take this and move it over to here and let go, it automatically updates the number. That way it makes sure that your arrows and your bubbles are always pointing to the correct part, even if you accidentally move them in some way. So we'll go back to balloon, and I'll just finish labeling these parts. Here we have an end cap. The shaft is already labeled. There is a screw right here that I want to label, and a screw right here that I want to label. Okay, that one there I probably need to drag away just a little bit. So let me drag this thing out. Now you can label parts on different views as well. You might also want to consider labeling all the views or all the parts on this view where it's a little bit more clear to see what's actually going on. And then you can go from here and do any other types of labeling that you want to do.